Louie Cudiamat. So today I'm just going to be talking about my favorite application to use when I do creative work, which is Procreate. So Procreate's kind of like the simplified, more user-friendly version of Photoshop, translated into a software that's compatible with your iPad. So this is what it looks like. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna show you. Wait, I'm gonna choose some artwork. The artworks are so bad. Okay. Let's choose this one. So this is what it looks like. So those are like, that's like a compilation. Yes, ring light. A compilation of just like, that's like the gallery. And then this is what it looks like when you're actually working on a file. Yeah, so the reason why I use Procreate so much is because when I started doing creative work, like for real, like to actually like make pubs and stuff, I didn't have Photoshop on my laptop. One, because I didn't get a laptop until I was 4th year high school, and when I did get it, I didn't know how to install it because Photoshop is a paid software and it's kind of expensive because it's like subscription based, so it's not just like a one-time big time thing. So when I got the iPad, I tried out a bunch of different applications and then I stuck to Procreate just because it has almost all of the features I needed at the time. It is a paid app, so I'm not sure how much it is on the Apple Store, but when I bought it, it was like $6. Do the math, insert price somewhere. Yeah, it was $6. But yeah, so this is what I've been using since 3rd year high school. So this is what I learned a couple things by using it. And it's just like the process. A lot of the things I do on Procreate, you can actually do on Photoshop. But because I'm lazy to learn how to do it on Photoshop, I don't do it. So the beauty of Procreate also is because you can airdrop it. So it's compatible to like my laptop. So if you're an Apple user with a Mac and like an iPad, it's like transferring files like between softwares. It's super easy. Yeah, so like because it's a PSD, I can edit it on Photoshop if I have to and things like that. And other people can edit it using whatever softwares they're using also. So Procreate works even if you don't have an Apple Pencil. There's also such a thing as Procreate Pocket. But for you to really get the most out of the application, it really is best to have an Apple Pencil. I feel like a lot of people already have an iPad and a pencil. Okay, so I have a blank canvas. This is what it looks like. It's cool actually because it also has like night mode and like light mode. So I have it on light mode just because it looks nicer. And then, okay, so I'm gonna go through like three of my favorite things that I find it so much easier to do on the iPad compared to on Photoshop. So, let's see, what do we have? Let's start with the first, which is symmetry. I actually have no idea if you can do this in Photoshop. You probably can, but for the iPad, for Procreate, in particular, how do I show it? Should I just show it to you guys? Okay, I'm just gonna show it. So this is the canvas. Okay, there. And then you basically go to like settings, and then there's a canvas option here, and then you have what you call a drawing guide. So you press that. So initially, similar to Photoshop, it appears like it's a grid first. And then you can edit it. So super cool. So edit drawing guide. And then a bunch of things show up in the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. So there's two things. So there's 2D, isometric, which shows up like that. Then there's perspective, which is basically like, how do I explain this? Like if there's a point in the horizon you're drawing from, that really helps. And then the one I'm gonna show you, what I use most often nowadays is symmetry. So symmetry is like basically what you think it would be. It splits your canvas into two parts, wherein whatever you draw on one side will show up on the other side. So there. So it goes, so the I guess the default is for it to go in the middle, which is usually what you want them on. And then you can go, the way you can use it to do the like mirroring drawing is you turn on the drawing, the assisted drawing. Look at that shade, yeah. The assisted drawing. So you turn that on. So I'm gonna show you guys how it works. So I'm just gonna choose like a simple brush. Okay, let's just do monoline. And then I'm gonna use a simple color. Ta-da! But yeah, so that's like assisted, like that's like assisted drawing. So basically it, when you have that feature on, whatever you draw on one side shows up on the other. So yeah, so like it's super useful for things like when you do logos, so you have clear lines. When you draw like different shapes, actually, like for a bunch of other stuff, like flowers, stars, things like that, circles even. It super helps, and I've used it actually, and I'll show it later. I've used it for like to make a logo. So that's a useful tip. So I'm gonna turn it off first. Drawing guide off. And I'll show you another one, which is like blending, I guess. Okay, so this is more of like art. This doesn't really apply to like logo making because a lot of logos don't really have gradients or like doesn't require you to blend. Since like a lot of them are like minimalist, but I'll show you anyway, just because it really shows how well the application mimics pastels or like colored pencils. So I'm gonna draw for you another shape. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna try for Jamie. I'm gonna draw a circle. Oh, it's still assisted drawing. Wait. Take two. I'm gonna turn that off. Yeah, what's also cool pala about assisted drawing or drawing assist is that you can do it per layer. So for some layers, it can be turned on. For others, it can be turned off. So it really depends on what you want to do. So I'm gonna draw a shape for you guys, and we're gonna try to shade it. You know, this is not gonna be a good circle. We'll see it's an oval. That's fine. Okay, let's make it a smaller oval. Okay, so there. That's an oval. And then what you can do is you can shade it like normally, like how you would a pen and paper, but it takes too long and we don't have time for that. So you can also get drag the color to fill it in. So for Procreate though, you just go to like the corner. So this is where the colors show up. It's pretty cool. So you just drag that little circle and then drag it to the middle of your shape, so it fills up. Ta-da! The main tools, I guess, of Procreate is the brush, and then this little thing. I don't know what you call it. It doesn't have a name. And then the eraser. Okay, so this is the brush. This is the eraser. Okay, now watch when I press the one in the middle. I don't know the name. If you know the name, you can comment or something. I don't know the name, but I just call it like the smudger, and it basically smudges, right? Cool, right? So it's really like if you're using like pastel, what do you call those? Oil pastels. Oil pastels. Like when you take your hand, you smudge it with your finger. It's like, that's what happens. It really smudges, which is super useful for me. Beyond like making logos or like vectors, because I also do like portraits and like I try to do like realistic digital drawings. So that really helps when you shade. So how I would use it would be, okay, so you have your shape, And then let's say we want to do like the highlight. Yes, I'm not technically trained to do these things, so if you're FA, stop watching. But yeah, so let's assume this is like grade school knowledge. So let's assume your light source is coming from here, and then you want to put like a highlight, so you get like maybe like a white. Then you add a new layer, so it looks like that, right? Like, okay, it looks kind of shiny, like makes sense. But then what you can do with the smudger, wow, wait, that's an ugly smudger tool. Hold on. Oh, I haven't seen these brushes. Wait. Sorry, I just updated. What the frick? Where's the brush? I just updated this kanina for this video, and I don't know where everything is. Oh no, it's gone. Drawing. Painting. I found it. I've been relaxed. I found it. So there. So what you do is wow, this looks so bad. I don't know if you can see it, but then you basically really just smudge it like on top of the other layer. You like your shapes layer. But anyway, so this is what it looks like if you like poorly smudge it. Yeah. Wow. Please react, boys. But yeah, so that's really, which is really cool because it's like you get like the convenience, the ease of use out of doing it digitally, while still enjoying the process of making the art. I feel like because that's also like a problem for me. Because I'm sure like all of us, a lot of me and my friends like who know how to like Photoshop and like do creative work or like illustrate, we all started syempre with like a piece of paper and like coloring materials. And like part of the joy talaga was like shading it and smudging it ourselves. But then like especially if you're on Photoshop and you don't have like a drawing tablet, that whole process of you really moving your hand how you're used to kind of disappears. So doing it on the iPad is like the best middle ground I can think of. Procreate's super good for that also, which is like my style. Like I want it to look like it was painted on or drawn, and doing it on Procreate just lets me do that without wasting materials. Because syempre like, okay, that's it. If I don't like it, I can just double tap and it kind of disappears. And just like to add lang pala for the blending tool, what's really cool about it is because all of your brushes translate to the 3. So remember I said you have your actual paintbrush, you have the smudge tool, and then you have the eraser. So all the brushes you have in your brush library for your actual like brush tool, there's a corresponding one for it on the smudge. So for example, I'll show you how different it would look. So this is and you can customize brushes. I don't know how, so I'm not gonna teach you guys that, but you can. I just download for free online. So for example, this is the Nikko Roll, and Nikkorull. So this is the brush I'm using to like smudge. Let's see if we can bring back. Okay, we can. It disappeared. Anyway, so I'm just gonna use this shape so you guys see it. So this is like one smudge brush. And then if I use a different brush, let's say the Oriental brush, it's different. And then if I use, let's go to abstract, Storm Bay. I've never heard this brush. Okay, anyway. Whoa, it's different also. It's different also. So it's really cool. Like it's really it really wows me. Like I wouldn't think, like if I were designing the app, I wouldn't think that there would be different types of smudging also. So that's like super cool. So smudging is like really good for like blending your colors, like what I said, like having like blending in your highlights with your base color and then bringing in your shadows. So that's basically what the smudging tool does, and I use it super often. More for like portraits and like commissioned work rather than like commissioned logos. But it really is so cool, and it's like how do I say this? I don't know. It's like super simple. Like I just wouldn't have thought I'd use it so often. A newer, not new, but then like a more relatively more recent addition to the Procreate application is you can also bring in text. So that was one thing I was actually waiting for, and I'm surprised it wasn't there from the get-go. But I guess Procreate was really more of an illustration application than a pub making application, if that makes sense. So when I first downloaded it, what would happen is I'd make my elements here. So like I'd draw whatever on the iPad, I'd transfer them as PNGs to my laptop, and then add text there. Because text, even with the text feature now, text is still easier to manipulate on Photoshop. But they do have text, so I'll just show you. So it's here. So it's just like back to like the actions, the menu. Beside canvas, the first one's actually add. So there's insert a file, insert a photo, take a photo, or add a text. So you can add text, which is really cool. So I'll put hello, Jamie. Okay, and then you can edit. So it's all here, so I can change it to impact. Changing. Wait, I have to highlight it. Whoa, that's so cool. Whoa, that shows up. I didn't know that. You can change it. Let's use Future. I saw Future. Jamie's favorite one. Hello, Jamie. And then you can still edit a lot of things actually. Like there's still, there's still size, screening, tracking, leading, baseline, opacity, paragraph attributes, you can make it all caps or whatever. And then the different versions. Okay, that's kind of judge. Let's go back to that. So this one in particular has been super useful when I make logos. Most of the work I can do now on just one software or just one device. Like I don't have to like go back and forth, because that takes a lot of time. And people don't realize that about like creatives work. So let me just like spill some beans for everyone on why creatives work. It's kind of really takes long, and you kind of have to allot more time for it. Like having to revise something really takes time, because sometimes we'd have to go through all our layers and then undo a lot of things, like go through the history of the pub map before we can actually pinpoint the layer or like the aspect that we want to fix. But anyway, so there, I use the text a lot. I don't even know what I can do with the text. I don't know what you guys can learn from me. It's pretty straightforward. Weird color. Okay, hello Jamie. And that's it. And then you can basically do the same as you would on Photoshop, which is to like rasterize it. When you rasterize the layer, I don't know if the technical terms are right. Basically, from my understanding, is when you rasterize the text layer, what happens is the program or the software doesn't read it as a text layer anymore. It reads it as an image layer already. So it means like once you rasterize a text layer, you can no longer edit the text in the sense na you can't retype the words. So for example, the good thing though about rasterizing it is you can manipulate it in different ways now. So for example, if I want to make it a gradient, okay, let's be adventurous. Let's do a gradient. So same as you would do it on Photoshop, you can go, what I do for gradients at least. I'm pretty sure there's another way to do this, but again, I don't know. So we're gonna go to airbrush. So basically it's like an airbrush brush. And then let's see, what's a cute color? Let's do blue. Okay, I know it looks stupid. But, and then let's do pink. Okay, weird, I know. But then we can, oh my god, I don't know if this works this way. Oh, there, okay. Clipping mask. There it worked! Wow, it's the first time I did that! I used to only do that on Photoshop. It works pala, okay? But yeah, so there. So that's pretty cool. So you can do that also on Procreate. Procreate is really good for people who just want to try doing creatives work also. Like in a beginner standpoint, it makes creatives work less intimidating just because it's so easy to navigate through the whole thing. Like I didn't touch on everything on the app, but there's so many things like opacity. You can change the opacity of your brush, you can change the size of your brush, there are things like adjustments, like adjustment layers, like Photoshop. So there's things like noise, halftone, I don't even know what that means. There's a great, anyway, so that's like the text. So I'm going to show you, whose can I show? Okay, here. Ta-da! Kind of proud of it, it's kind of cute. But the owners, I guess one of the owners messaged me, and then basically the brief given to me, because that's what they'll do. Even if it's a small brand, they'll usually give you a brief, then you talk about it for a while just to make sure you're on the same page. The brief given to me was that they wanted it to be minimalistic in terms of like the colors and then the lines. They wanted it to be like kind of Japanese inspired shapes or elements. And then they wanted it to be kind of like naturey, that's their word for that, like nature vibes. Like that's what, I don't know, that's like most of what they said. So so Japanese, feminine, nature vibes, and then simple. Because I had a clear vision in my head that for it to be like simple and like easy to look at, it had to be kind of consistent in terms of its shapes. And the best way to do that now is through the feature of like the assisted drawing guide. And then, so that's how I did this, like the 3 petals. It overlapped at the start, and what I did is just like erase the overlapping lines. And then, so yeah, and so that's what I used for the actual petal. And then I added the girl later on. So the girl's just like freehand draw. So that's like really one of the beauties of Procreate, is just like you being able to easily freehand draw elements and then just cleaning up after. It's kind of like a little more tedious, but then it's easier for me to draw this on the iPad than draw it on like Photoshop. Because like the pencil and everything. And then you saw also like the text. I actually showed them like a bunch of the versions. So Rini was in different fonts. When one font didn't work, I got to like import other fonts from like online, just super useful, and that's how I used it. And then it's also a matter of like spacing. So like your text in relation to your image, it can't be too wide, it can't be too small. So just finding like the balance. So basically, like, I'll show it to you. I did it this way, and okay, I'm gonna outline. It's gonna work. If you like notice, like that's kind of like how it's spaced out. Like the top is kind of like thinner, then it widens, and then it goes back thinner. So like thinner, widens, and goes back. Because I knew I was making the logo primarily for their Instagram like display picture, which is a circle. So you always have to like keep in mind what you're making it for. So just like another pub, or not pub, but another artwork where I used a lot of those, like the features I mentioned. But basically what happened for this artwork, syempre I'm not showing it, for this artwork in particular is I had a sketch in mind, and I kind of knew I wanted it to revolve around beer or like drinking, because truth be told, some of my best memories like from Jamie is really when we're all together and we're all celebrating and things like that. Or not even celebrating, just drinking in particular for different reasons, for the highs, the lows, the middle, whatever. So what I do when I illustrate something like this on Procreate is I start off with like a sketch. So there's a tool here. There is a tool here that's the brush is just like pencils, like basically it mimics pencils. So that super helps me. And I'll show you. Let's see if I can show you. Stop. Oh! So if you can see, stop. Okay, you know what? Just show it, and I'll just send you the timeline. But basically, how it started was I draw it first. So that's like pencil, and then I lay it out. So before I start coloring everything in, I'd put everywhere where I want them to be. So like the different shapes, like I move them around. And that's like the good part about working digitally, is because you can manipulate your elements post actually making them, if that makes sense. So for example, I guess how do you say it? Like if I draw a circle on the corner of my page or like paper, once I draw it, I can no longer move it to the other side. But the beauty of like digital illustration is that if I decide I want it in the middle instead of the corner, I can do that. So with Procreate, I can do that. So that's basically what I do. So like I sketch out the idea first, and more often than not, the sketch isn't what you see in the final product, which is super okay because it's really just a guiding. Like it's basically, at least you have an idea of like where you want to go with your artwork. And then for this one in particular, how do I say this? I did the basic shapes first. So after having like my color scheme, I would just fill in the shapes. So normal. So it's just like, the hair, the cap, the shirt, the dress, everything there. And then after the shapes, that's where when everything's kind of colored in, it's easier then to apply more detail to the artwork. So when I say detail, this is like the part where I'm referring to like kanina, like the light, the shadowing, making it more 3D or making the illustration more dynamic, putting a layer on top of another layer, things like that. Like things na if I didn't do, I feel like the artwork would be lacking. And I'm not sure if like you'll post this after or before Nami's, but in the way that she said like the noise effect on her pubs like adds so much more character to the pub. Like I super agree. Like same with like when you do illustrations. Syempre again, depending on like how you want it to look like and things like that. But because my goal talaga was to mimic beer bottles or like alcohol bottles or just like glass bottles in general. Adding like the highlights and the shadows were very important to like deliver that vision and make it like and have it like translated well into the artwork. Creative problem solving that you kind of are forced to go through while using these apps are really part of like the beauty of the whole thing and just being just getting from point A to point B. And that's why it's like this app is it's like so good for people who are really just constantly trying to learn. Because you get to see like where you started, like through like the time lapse portion of it. Like you get to see like where you started and how you ended, and you can see like which parts you fucked up, which parts you kind of like started to get a better idea of like what you wanted to do. So it's really, if anything, this application is supposed to it doesn't solve all of the creative problems. It won't solve all of your creative problems or like dilemmas or issues. It won't make the pub nice for you. That's still all on you, like as the creator. But it does make the learning process so much easier, and so like it allows you to still be experimenting and constantly learning about your style and like how to like develop it more, just because it's so easy to explore different styles when there's so many tools made available to you through this one app that's so easy to navigate and so easy to use. Like really, like it's really easy to use. So it's basically it. Like I feel like I'm super, like I'm a big advocate of the app. It's worth the money. However, how much, I don't know how much it is now. There's a version on the phone if you want. I just downloaded it and it's actually kind of cute. It's 250 pesos. I realize it's a waste of my money, but like for someone who doesn't have an iPad and wants to get started, it's called Procreate Pocket. This is so cute, right? Oh, like the coloration, the PP. Anyway, but yeah, some people learn before they start, which is also fine. So this class by GMG Masterclass is your entry point by learning before you start. So that's also okay. There are also tons of videos online that you can probably get better tutorials from, which is also okay. So it really depends on you, but I feel like honestly I'd super recommend this to anyone who just wants to try, because I think that's what the application was also made for. Just to provide people with more chances to creatively express themselves in a not so technical way. Thank you.